Oh, hello world. My name is Stephen Walker and welcome to A Walker in the Woods. I hope that you will tune in, turn on, and if you like the content, drop me one of these or consider subscribing. It helps the algorithm, as they say. But that being said, I'm back up on the top of this mountain at my favorite spot, and I have a good hypothetical question for you. So I'm going to go down into my cave where the acoustics are hopefully better. And it's, wow, this is a natural recliner. Very comfy. As you can tell, I am very sweaty. It's not the heat, but the humidity, as they say, and in Korea, it's humid today. So let's get to the hook, the question. If you had amnesia and you woke up in the woods, what would you choose to become? You are alone, not necessarily naked. Maybe you have a few provisions, some water, but you don't know who you are, where you're from, what your nationality is, what your profession was. You are like a baby. A few possibilities that I can think of. Would you become a survivor? Would you rely on your instinct, necessity? Would you be a wanderer? Start following your curiosity? Start wandering around in the woods, walking in the woods without destination? See what you can find out there? New opportunity? Would you be a builder? Would you start breaking down trees, building a shelter? Would you find a cave? Do you prefer the safety, stability, grounded, one place? Would you become a sage? Start watching, reflecting, learning from nature, sitting on the mountaintop, pontificating your existence and your belly button? What is it all about? I don't know. Would you become a beast? Would you go out there looking for flesh, tearing into the small mountain rodents, birds, maybe even attack a lonesome wanderer that so happens to cross your path? Or would you just become a myth? Would you create your own stories? Look back up at the sky, at the constellations, and start from scratch, year zero. Obviously, I would think that survival is imminent, is most important. You need water. But you don't really need food, not for at least 40 days. I am now on day 5 of my 40-day water fast. I started out at 91.3 kilo, and now I'm down to, I think, 87.3. 4 kilo. Food is not as important as you think. It is important, we need it to build muscle, sustenance. But shelter is more important than food, at least right off the bat. You need to keep safe from the elements. But are these survival instincts that we have, are they innate? Are they instinctual? Or are they learned? Can we create something that we need if we don't remember what it looks like or it looked like? Remember, we have amnesia. Without memory, There's no imitation. And there's no limitation. We will be and are forced to innovate. With memory, our memory gives us models, tools, language, and structure. So the question is, do humans have true original thought? In your brain, have you ever had an original thought in your life? Or do we just copy and repeat? When was the last time that you had a thought that did not come from a screen, a movie, a book, a conversation that you had with a friend, from your childhood, from a class or a teacher? Has anything come into your brain? That dude just buzzed my tower. Has anything come into your brain originally? Most of us have repeated jokes that we liked. You know, hanging out at the water cooler and talking to friends about the latest sitcom. We followed popular fashion trends throughout every 2 years, every season, every whatever. The fashion trends keep coming and going to feed the machine. How often have you used a catchy phrase that you heard from a sitcom? Never? Yada yada yada. That one comes to mind. That was a biggie. Suddenly everybody's walking around saying yada yada yada. What does yada 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 even mean? I don't know, but everybody was saying it. Interesting. If we see a successful person on TV or on the YouTube channel or big screen or even your neighbor, we try to emulate him or her. We want what they have. Their life looks comfy and interesting, and yeah, let's imitate, let's emulate, let's kind of copy and see if we can get the same result. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not tearing down anyone's drive to succeed in this life. I'm not saying that you have to take off your clothes, self-flagellate, and walk in the woods for the rest of your life. Not at all. But the question is, are we capable of having our own thought, or is it all just regurgitated, washing the machine, take it out of the spin cycle, and hang it up to dry? You know, there's an old saying that you can't reinvent the wheel. And maybe that's true. Music comes to mind. For example, in America's always been a very innovative giant when it comes to music and new music genres. If you go way back, obviously you have the heartbeat that turns into the drum beat. And over a period of time, in America, for example, that drum beat turned into the Negro spiritual, the slave music, which over time turned into blues down in New Orleans, moved up to St. Louis, Chicago, up the Mississippi. And that blues turned into jazz, also originating down in Louisiana, moving up to St. Louis, Chicago, and throughout the country and the world. And then the jazz turns into rock and roll, still maintaining that beat, the rhythm. And the rock turns into rhythm and blues. And somehow it turns into hip hop, rap. It just keeps branching out. Now, is it original? Or is it all just built on, it's innovative for sure. We can be innovative, but is it ever original? Are we just simply standing on the shoulder of giants? Musicians, when they're interviewed, they always talk about their influences. They give accolades to those who came before them. So from childhood, imitation was not only important, but a necessity. As children, we learn from body language, from movement and speech, interactive skills, watching the behavior of our parents, how they act with each other and to others, learn from our siblings and our peers as we went to school. Imitation allows us to acquire knowledge and cultural norms, to fit in. They say that imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. If we copy someone or imitate what another person does, it's a compliment. They most definitely do that here in Korea. They think that copying is not cheating. In a class, I say, hey, what are you doing there? You have 2 books and you're writing the answers from one to the other. Oh, just copying, teacher. Yes, I'm helping. No, you're not helping, because he's not learning anything new. He's not learning, he's not using the brain. America is well known for its innovation, invention. Invention is the mother of necessity, right? And being a free spirit. Whereas here in South Korea, it's a much more group-orientated, go along to get along and don't rock the boat kind of culture. But another question is, a more simple question is, when you're with other people, do you have the personality to kind of take control and lead that pack, or are you much more comfortable just blending in and following others? Are you a creator or an imitator? Obviously, there are positives and negatives to both. And being part of or belonging to one of the groups, either being a leader or a follower, the answer still exists. Do you have original thought? Are we able to create something new, or just imitate what we've learned? So I have a few more thoughts I'd like to share before I end this. And I'll run through them quickly. And please give me your thoughts down below if you agree, disagree, or if you believe that you have had an original thought. Please tell me about it. But we have to start with language, going way back again to the childhood. Do we think in language? Our thoughts are in language. Do we think in English or Korean or Japanese or Swahili? So does that mean that our thoughts are bound by cultural vocabulary? Can we think outside of that box? Can we imagine something that we cannot name? I would surmise that yes, we can. We can imagine an image in our mind and then come up with a name for it. But does the language we learn limit our creativity? I think in Inuit they have 50, 100, 200 words for the word ice and for the word water. That opens a lot of doors up in the old cranium. If we had more vocabulary, it'd connect a lot more of those synapses up there. The majority of our DNA is called junk DNA. That's interesting. And we supposedly only use a very small percentage of it. What if we started using more of it, or all of it? Would we even still be here on this planet? Education or indoctrination? When you go to school, you're a big, beautiful shrub. And then you get into class, and they cut that shrub down. Like over here is a good example. Right there. They'll cut that shrubbery right off and turn you into a a nice 2x4. Ooh, this recliner is comfy on the back, but it's not necessarily the best on the old derriere. Let's take a look at the view again. It is a beautiful day here. But is our schooling system designed to awaken or suppress creativity and critical thought? Maybe a bit of both. And are we taught to think or just memorize and comply? Again, here in Korea, the rote system, repeat after me. Students don't ask a lot of questions. The Koreans don't. I've had, in the last semester, I had some Chinese students. They were brilliant. They would constantly be raising their hands, participating, asking thoughtful questions. It was brilliant. I may have to move to China. Culture as control system. Culture as a control system. Terence McKenna once said, culture is not your friend, and I'll probably be doing a video on that soon. But culture often dictates norms, behaviors, taboos, roles in society. Keeps you in the box. I suppose that we are free to choose or follow what floats our boat, what makes us itch, what we have talent for. But are we conditioned for that from a young age? In Korea, I would say yes. In Korea, if you show talent for something, they will put you in that box. For example, if you're a good athlete, you'll go to a certain school for that. Engineering, you'll go to engineering school. And there's, that's fine. You can hone your ability. But is culture a mechanism of psychological domestication to keep people manageable? Or keep us on the farm? Two hawks. So who benefits from this culture of creation? Who profits from the status quo? If culture shapes our desires, career, beauty, success, then are they really our desires? Does culture encourage original thinking? Does it reward obedience, replication? If we look at media and the manufactured mind and social media, advertising, the mass media reinforces our cultural values without us knowing it or noticing it. Product placement, predictive programming, mimicking some kind of moniker, slang, yada yada yada. There's a narrative that's being sold to you. Creativity versus consumption. Consumption is also a biggie on media. Advertising. So, are we actually a creator or just really efficient consumers? Have a Coke and a smile. Pepsi, the choice of a new generation. What percentage of our day is spent consuming versus creating? Henry Kissinger calls the majority useless eaters. I don't know about useless consumers. I mean, as long as we're consuming, we're feeding the machine. The deep pockets of the people that own all of these multi-conglomerate companies, but I don't really think that they care to feed us any longer. which is why fasting may prove to be a very key factor in your survival. You don't have to go 40 days, but at least you know that your body can not only withstand, endure, but actually thrive without having something in the belly for an extended period of time. That's a fact, people. Don't believe me. Do your research and think for yourself. So mimicry in the digital age, all of these videos, it's like I watch a video and it's like, hey, that's a great video, I'll give that a thumbs up. Thumbs up. I'll give that a thumbs up. I like that dude's content. That chick is resonating with me. And then that's where the algorithm comes in, feeding us similar content. It's like, whoa, I just finished a really cool vid and here's another one. And there's another one. And then you just start going down that rabbit hole. And suddenly it's 2 a.m. So, are we becoming imitators in infinite loops, getting sucked into that matrix? And the virality, the viral videos, the viral content is dangerous. Is this just that the powers that be that is rewarding conformity? Again, the ice bucket challenge or the Tide Pod eating challenge. Suddenly one person does it and now thousands of people are doing it. Why are they doing it? Are they doing it to grab some fame? It's most definitely not original thought. Actually, it's quite the opposite. There's zero thought that goes into pouring a bucket of ice water over your head or munching on a Tide Pod. I still don't know what a Tide Pod is, other than is it just detergent? Is it lethal? And who and why did someone decide that was a good thing to do? No thought. Now that's a whole different episode of free therapy. No thought. Ignorance is bliss, I suppose. There are many times that I wish that I hadn't clicked on something, and I thought, wow, that was a lost 1 minute, 2 minute, 3 minutes of my life. A few brain cells may never recover from that one. It wasn't a mistake. It was just an experience. So to wrap things up, as I sit out here in nature, nature doesn't have comparison, and it doesn't mimic. There are no lies, L-I-E-S, in nature. So let's take a look over here at this tree again that I like. I showed it to you yesterday. We're in a previous video. So this tree right here is growing out of a rock. And this tree does not mimic its shape from other trees. It has its own unique shape, location, and reason for being here. It's chosen one of the best views on this mountain, I would have to add. Well done, tree. You be you. So I want to go back to the original question. If you woke up in the forest with amnesia, who would you be? What if forgetting, having amnesia and forgetting was actually a gift? You're no longer a product of your environment, of your school, education, indoctrination, TikTok, textbooks, trauma. You are only now what you do in that moment. Be here, be now, in the present. By forgetting it may be the only way that we once again can have original thought. I'm going to end with a quote by Diogenes. I think that's his, how you pronounce his name, Diogenes. He was a Greek philosopher, one of the founders of cynicism, to be cynical. I like this cat already. But Diogenes lived with minimal belongings. And back to downsizing, I'm on day, I think, 22 of throwing away a number of things from my possession. I'm going backwards, so I've already pitched over probably 200 things. But Diogenes lived with minimal belongings. He was a minimalist. He was one of the original OGBs, or OGs, whatever you call it, original gangsta. Diogenes was an OG minimalist. And this is what I liked about him. He would carry a lantern in the daytime on the streets in search for an honest man. Let that one sink in. If I could time travel, I would most definitely go back to Greece. Diogenes would carry a lantern around on the streets. A lantern is obviously a light. He's looking for the light. He's looking for an honest man. Maybe he couldn't find it in the dark, so he's looking for them in the light. Anyways, so his quote was, "One original thought is 1,000 mindless quotings." I'll repeat that. One original thought is worth 1,000 mindless quotings. Touché, Diogenes. Touché. Now here is your moment of Zen.